Hello everyone. In the previous lecture, we have studied about the derivation of f is equal to r by 2 and also the mirror equation. In this lecture, we will continue forward with further topics in ray optics. The first topic here is called as refraction of light. So it is defined as the process or phenomenon in which there is change in direction of light when it passes from one medium to another medium having different refractive indices. We will see what this means in a minute. We see here indices. So think of example given here. We have source of light. Light is moving between air and then water. Now we know that these two are different mediums. So the speed of light will not be same in the two mediums. What will happen because of that is this light ray, instead of going straight, would bend. So this phenomenon in which the light ray bends away from its normal path because of change in refractive index is called as refraction. Now here are two mediums here. There can be a possibility where this medium could be rarer and this could be denser, or other way around, we could have a condition where light is entering from denser to a rarer medium. Now here, when you say about density, it is not about the mass density, because by convention, density would mean, or by common understanding, you would think that density means mass by volume, but keep in mind that this is just one form of density. Density could mean many other things also. But here, when I say rarer and denser, it is the context of optical density. We will see what this in a minute. This is defined by what is n. For now, understand the fact that whenever light path is changed, when light moves between two different mediums, that process is called as refraction of light. As seen here, if we think of a case where we have a condition where we have a medium and then light ray falls on this medium like this. So let this PQ be the interface or the boundary. When I say interface or boundary, it means it separates two different mediums. So we'll take a case where this is the rarer medium and this is the denser medium. Now at this point of incidence, we'll draw a normal like this. Let us call this as AB. So AB is incident ray. Let this n dash be the normal. So since we are assuming that light is moving from rarer to denser medium, light would bend towards normal. So light ray would bend and light ray would go like this. It will bend towards normal. The angle made here is called as angle of incidence I, and let this BC, the angle made between BC and this, is called as R. Basically here AB is the incident ray and n dash is the normal and BC is the refracted ray. The angle between the incident ray and the normal is called as I, which is angle of incidence. The angle between the refracted ray and the normal is called as R, which is angle of refraction. Keep in mind that what we have here is a complete medium, not just a boundary, which means the whole thing is a medium. Do not think we just have a small surface. It isn't. The whole thing is a other medium. We'll take a case where instead of this, light falls on the boundary, but light is moving from denser to rarer medium. In this case, what will happen is, as you learnt in your high school, light would bend away from normal. Light would bend away from normal like this. The angle made here is angle of incidence I, and the angle made here is called as angle of refraction R. Now, to understand this diagram here, you can think of this case where we have a condition like this. Suppose imagine somewhere here an object is placed like O. The light falls on this boundary. Since light is moving from denser, because this is generally the denser medium, since light is moving from denser to rarer medium, if we draw normal here, light would bend away from normal. Light bends and goes like this. Now, if we draw this ray backwards, it appears as if this ray is coming from some point here. So, this point is the image. Even though the object is kept at point O, what we see is not the point O, we see the image. A similar way, it should have been straight like this, but because of refraction, it appears to be shifted. So, there are many such observations around us where we see refraction which is always seen. The next topic is called as absolute refractive index. Now, we'll take a case where we have a boundary like this and light is moving from, say, air into this medium, like, say, water. It is common sense that the speed of air in these mediums will not be same. The speed will be different, and we know that the speed of light is maximum or it is highest in air or vacuum. It is called as C. In fact, the value of speed of light is slightly less in case of air, but for class 12 purpose, we can assume that air also has something like vacuum only. So, for class 12 purpose, the words air or vacuum are interchangeable. It moves between air and water in this case. Let the speed of light here be V. By definition, absolute refractive index, which is called as N. This N is defined as the ratio of speed of light in vacuum, that will be C, to the speed of light in the medium, which is V. Because you're finding what is N for V. Here N is the refractive index of water. This is what is the definition of N. It is defined as the ratio of speed of light in vacuum to the speed of light in the medium. Now we know that the speed of light is highest and that value is C, which means V is less than C. That is, the speed of light in any medium would be less than the speed of light in free space. This implies that the value of N is more than 1. So, the value of N is always more than or equal to 1, but N cannot be negative, N cannot be 0. N is equal to 1 if it is air only, because if you look at air and air as a medium, then it becomes C by C, that would give us 1. So, whenever N is equal to 1, it means the medium is air, and whenever N is more than 1, it is not air. but actually the value of n for air is slightly more than 1, but as I told you earlier, for classical purpose we can assume that the value of n for air also is 1. Now the question is, what causes the light to change its path? Here we saw that it is because the mediums have different refractive indices. But actually what happens is, when light moves between two different mediums, its speed will change. For example, if we think that light moves from air to water, its speed will change. The light moves more freely in air than in water. It's been constrained. It is difficult to move in water than in air, because of which the light spends more time in water. That would mean that the light is bending towards the normal. So the reason that light bends towards normal is because of change in velocity, but change in velocity is seen as change in n. They're interchangeable. So in fact, the change in n is what is seen as change in velocity, and it's vice versa also here. So the cause of refraction is change in velocity of light. In case of reflection, if you think of a plane mirror or spherical mirror, or just a case of reflection, then what is seen is, if we have a mirror like this. So if light falls on this interface, light falls like this, light reflects into the same medium. This is called as reflection. In case of reflection, velocity of the light, its frequency, and also lambda remains same. We know that v is equal to f into lambda. But in case of refraction, it doesn't remain same. Since v changes, lambda also would change. So in case of refraction, the velocity as well as lambda will change, but not frequency. Frequency will remain a constant because frequency depends on the source emitting the light. If we have a bulb here, the frequency depends on the source emitting the light, not wavelength or velocity. The next topic is relative refractive index. As the name tells us, relative means we are comparing two different mediums' refractive indices. For example, if you have a boundary and the medium above has refractive index n1 and the medium below has refractive index n2, then let their speeds be v1 and v2. Then we know what is n1. n1 is called as absolute refractive index of medium 1, and that is given as c by v1. This is definition of refractive index. n2 is given by c by v2. If we divide n2 by n1, then what we get would be c by v2 by c by v1. From here, c gets cancelled. So this gives us n2 by n1 is equal to v1 by v2. This term here is called as refractive index of medium 2 with respect to medium 1. It is written as n2 1 like this. Similarly, we can say n1 2. It would mean that it is n1 by n2, which reads as refractive index of medium 1 with respect to medium 2. And if we solve it, that will be equal to v2 by v1. And recall that v is equal to f into lambda. So in this case, to put it, it becomes f into lambda 1 by f into lambda 2. But we saw that the frequency remains same, so f gets cancelled. So we can also write in terms of lambda 1 and 2 as given here. This is called as relative refractive index. Now we will understand as to what does this mean. This n also indicates optical density. That is, it tells us whether a medium is rarer or denser for light to flow. To understand this, let us take an example of a source of light, and then we have example like paper, and then we have here say glass. It is very common sense that paper would be lighter than glass if you take the same amount of glass and paper, but when light falls on this and light falls on this, you know that more amount of light would come out of glass than through paper, which means here we can say paper is optically denser. So keep in mind that the density here is not in terms of the mass alone, rather here it is about optical density as seen by here. But in most cases, if a material is denser, it would mean it is also optically denser also, but not always. There can be cases where the material may be not denser but may be optically denser also. So this optical density is understood in terms of n. Next, we will look at laws of refraction. The first law tells us that the incident ray, the refracted ray, and the normal at the point of incidence all lie in the same plane. To understand this, let us look at example of the car which is present here. Now think of this car. Now think of this car moving from say road to mud road. And what happens is, since the car gets stuck in the mud road, the car moves slowly here. So as seen from here, the car moves slowly in this case. Like this, if you draw a line here, this is the direction of the car. Car moves slowly in this road, which means it would bend towards normal. But in the entire case, the car is still moving in the road only. So in this case, the road is the plane. That's the meaning of it. So the incident ray, the refracted ray, and the normal at the point of incidence all lie in the same plane. The second law is called Snell's law. It says the ratio of the sine of angle of incidence to the sine of angle of refraction is a constant. To understand this, we will take an example of light ray itself. Suppose if light ray falls on this interface, on the boundary, and if we draw a normal at this point like this, then if you assume that the light ray bends away from normal like this, it would mean that this is the denser medium and this is the rarer medium. The angle made is say I and this is R. Then from Snell's law, it says that the ratio of sine of the angle, so sine of the angle of incidence to the sine of angle of refraction is a constant. We call that as a constant. So this is what is Snell's law. We can rewrite this. We're not proving it here. We just rewrite this. It says that the ratio of sine I by sine R is a constant. You can write this also in some other form, that is sine I by sine R is equal to, you can say it is n2 by n1. Do recall that n1 and n2 are constants. The whole thing is on a constant. If you cross multiply from this, then what you get would be n1 into sine I is n2 into sine r. So even this is another form of Snell's law. This is what is more useful to solve numericals. And to remember this form, always think that the product of n into sine of some angle is a constant. Think of this equation and it becomes very easy to solve numericals. It says the product of n into the sine of angle in that medium is a constant. For example, think that we'll have one more, say, boundary here, and this light ray is falling at this point. It's falling like this. Now imagine that this light ray further deviates from here. It comes out, for example, like this. Then even here you can use the Snell's law. If you call this as some angle, if these two are parallel, this also will be r only. But then we'll just call something else. We'll call it as alpha. This is beta. Let this index be n2. This is n1. This is n3. So if light is moving from, say, n2 to n3, then if you use this form, the product of n into the angle in the medium. So then here is n2. So n2 into the angle in this medium is alpha. So n2 into sine alpha is equal to the refractive index of the other medium is n3. It is n3 into sine beta. This is called as Snell's law, which is very important. The next topic is angle of deviation. To understand this, think that we have a boundary here. This boundary separates two different mediums with different refractive indices. Let this be a rarer medium and this be a denser medium. So we know that in case of two different mediums, if light is incident on the medium, then if the medium 2 was not there, light should have gone like this. Light would have gone like this. Light would have gone along a straight line. We'll call this as A. This is point B. This is C. By drawing normal here, it would mean that AB is incident ray and this BC, this is very important. BC is called as direction of incident ray, which means light would have gone along BC if there was no presence of second medium. So instead of going along BC, since light is refracting and second medium is a denser medium, light would bend towards normal like this. So the angle made here, it's I, this would be R. So the light, instead of going along BC, the light emerges along, say, BD. So the angle by which it deviates, this angle here is called as angle of deviation delta. This is called as delta. So it is the angle between the direction of incident ray and the reflected ray. That is called as delta. So in this case, if we observe carefully, this angle and this angle should be same because these are two lines which cross each other. That means that this contains R plus delta. So I is equal to R plus delta, or delta is equal to I minus R. So whenever light moves from rarer to denser medium, then delta is equal to I minus R. A similar way, if you find a case where light moves from denser to a rarer medium, then if light ray falls on the interface as seen earlier, if suppose there was no medium 2 was not there, the light would have gone along this direction. It would have gone straight like this. But because of presence of the second medium, light undergoes refraction like this. So light ray would bend away from normal, light ray would go like this, something of this kind. It goes like this. Now if this angle is I, this also is I only. But for us, the whole angle is R. It's the angle of refraction. If you call this as A, this is point B, this is point C, and this is point D. The light ray, instead of going along BC, refracts and comes out along BD. So this angle here is called as deviation. So the whole thing is R, this is I, this is delta. From here, R is I plus delta, or delta is equal to R minus I. So this is the deviation in case of light moving from denser to rarer medium. Let us study what is the deviation in case of mirrors. So let us think of a case where we have a plane mirror and light falls along this mirror. Light falls like this. So this light reflects and goes out like this. The angle drawn here, this angle is called as I, which is angle of incidence, and this angle here is R, but here I is equal to R. So we call this AB as the incident ray and BD as the, or we'll call this BE as the reflected ray. But in this case, suppose there was no mirror at all, the light would have gone like this. So this BC is called as direction of incident ray. The light ray, instead of coming along BC, reflects and goes along BD. So the angle by which it deviates is called as angle of deviation delta. In this case, ABC is a straight line. For a straight line, the angle involved is 180 degrees. In this case, this straight line contains three angles. It contains I, R and delta. This is a straight line. It has three angles, which is angle I, R and delta. So I plus R plus delta is equal to 180 degrees. But I and R are equal. You can say 2I plus delta is equal to 180 degrees, or delta is equal to 180 minus 2I. So this is deviation in case of mirrors, or here it's a plane mirror. The next topic is called as principle of reversibility of light. It says that if a ray of light, after suffering any number of reflections or refractions, let us think of a case where light falls through many mediums. For example, think where light refracts through this medium, light comes out, and light again reflects here, light goes out. So if a ray of light, after suffering any number of reflections or refractions, has its path reversed at any stage. So at any point of time, if the light's path is reversed, then it travels back to the source along the same path in opposite direction. So as given here, we have a case where we have a bulb which emits light. We have taken only one ray of light, and this ray of light falls on this lens. We will call this as lens L1 and this as lens L2. We haven't come across lens in this discussion. For now, understand that lens is something which would refract light. So here light refracts and goes out. We'll call this as AB. So here AB is incident ray. Again, light refracts. We call this as, say, point C. First point C. This is point D, and some point E, and some point F. Light is going along this direction. Suppose imagine that at the point F, if light path is reversed. So one simple way to reverse light is by keeping or by making light fall on a plane mirror normal to it. When light path is reversed, the light would retrace the path. So light would go back like this. So light goes from F2, goes along FE, light refracts here, comes out at point D, light refracts along DC, and the light goes back to the source. So this principle, where at any point, if the light path is reversed, in that case the light would retrace the path and go to the source. This is called as principle of reversibility of light. We will take some numericals to understand the earlier concepts. Example 1 says an object is placed at a very large distance from a concave mirror. I told in previous class that very large distance means that U tends to infinity. It's a concave mirror, so remember that, of focal length 10 centimeter. Where is the an image formed? What is the nature of image and its size? So it's a concave mirror. So if you want, you can draw mirror also as given here. We can draw a concave mirror with its principal axis. So this point here would be its pole. Since it is a concave mirror, we know that for concave mirror f is negative. So what is given here is f is equal to minus 10 by sign convention. Now what is given here is a very far away object. That would mean that the light rays falling would be parallel to the principal axis. So light ray falls like this and light ray falls like this. These light rays after reflection would meet at a point. The point where they meet, this point, is called as principal focus. This is the point. So here is image formed. So in this case, we can do directly also by saying that since this is the focus here and this is the pole, at the point F itself image is formed. So distance between P to F would be V in this case. So in this case, even V would be same as minus 10 centimeter. If you can't understand logic here, then we will do by using the mirror equation, where we learned that 1 by V plus 1 by U is 1 by F. As I told you in the previous class, U is with sign conventions, which means in this case F would be negative. So 1 by V minus 1 by infinity, because by sign convention it will be minus infinite, that is equal to 1 by minus 10. So this becomes 0. So 1 by V is equal to minus 1 by 10. Therefore, V is equal to minus 10 centimeter. That's the answer. I do observe that in case of ray optics, the distances generally would be in terms of centimeter. So there's no harm in writing same unit also. There's no need to convert it because generally it is centimeter only. Still, if you want to convert, you can write the final answer as V is equal to minus 0.1 meter. This is sufficient. So the image is formed at the focus. The next part in the question is, what is the nature of image and its size? And do remember that since the image is formed in front of the mirror, it will be a real image. And then we know that what is magnification? M was equal to minus of V by U. Again here U is sign convention. So since U is infinite, M becomes 0. It's a point size image. Example 2 says, an object is placed at a distance of 20 cm on the principal axis of a concave mirror of focal length 10 cm. Find the position and nature of image. So we'll do directly here. It is a concave mirror. For a concave mirror, f would be negative. It becomes minus 10 cm. And the object is placed in front of the mirror. An object is placed at a distance of 20 centimeter. So even here U would be minus 20 centimeter. Question says find the position, that is to find what is V, and nature, that is to find whether it's real or virtual and its magnification. In this case, what we'll do here is 1 by V plus 1 by U is 1 by F. We know this. We want to find what is V. So from here 1 by V is equal to 1 by F minus 1 by U. That's what we get. It is equal to minus 1 by 20 minus of minus 1 by, this is 1 by 10 because it's F is 10, minus 20. So it is minus 1 by 10 plus 1 by 20 because we are using with sign convention. That is equal to minus 20 plus 10 into 20 into 10. It's minus 10 by 20 into 10. That is minus. What we get from here is 1 by V is minus 1 by 20 centimeter. This implies V is equal to minus 20 centimeter, or V is equal to minus 2 meter. Minus n means that the image is formed in front of the mirror. Second point is nature. Since the image is formed in front of the mirror, it will be a real image. To find its size, we know that M is equal to minus of V by U. So V is minus of minus 20 because V is minus 20 by U is same thing. It's like minus 20. Minus 20, that is equal to minus 1. So again minus sign indicates it's a real image. Since it is equal to 1 in magnitude, the height of image and height of object will be same. Thank you.